I'd like to welcome everyone out tonight, and sure appreciate y'all coming. Looks like we have a good crowd. And as we've been doing, I'd like to start with our invocation with Pastor Joshua Ellerby from Poplar Springs Missionary Baptist Church in Polkton. Also, House of Shallow Fellowship Church in Albemarle. If you could please do the invocation.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Let us prepare our hearts as we go to God in prayer. As a very familiar passage of scripture, John 13:34 and 35 says, "A new commandment I've given unto you, that you love ye one another as I have loved you. And by this shall men know that you are my disciples." And so that is our prayer tonight as we go into our invocational prayer. Gracious Father, we are thankful and we are appreciative for this moment and opportunity to come to you. You are sovereign, you are mighty, you are great, you are strong, you are omniscient, you are omnipresent. There is none like you in all the earth. You are above all, you see all, you work through all, and you are in all. And God, we are thankful that we have the great privilege to come to you and to make our requests known to you. And tonight we come to you and we are asking for your presence, and we're asking for your spirit. We're asking for your guidance as business matters are being taken care of for this great county of Anson. We're thankful for the opportunity to approach you as citizens of this county. And Lord, our prayers that you will continue to guide our commissioners. Our prayers that you will continue to help us in all our endeavors. And as this meeting go forth tonight, we are asking that it will go forth with peace and with being able to accomplish things that will better our community. Amen. We ask these things in your Son Jesus' name, Yeshua the Christ. And we say it, amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you. All right. Now, I was going to go ahead and read the ethics rules. In accordance with State Government Ethics Act 138A, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in that particular matter involved. Does any commissioners have a conflict tonight? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I have a conflict on item 6A, administrative matters.
Okay, yes, sir. So when we get there, we'll recognize that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other? Okay. Also, I wanted to let me just get something here that I want to read to y'all. In this, many citizens have expressed concerns about our last meeting, and I think y'all are aware that there were some concerns. Therefore, I've asked Attorney Forbes to research the protocol for maintaining order at our board meetings. At this time, Attorney Forbes, can you give us some guidance on that? Because I just want to make sure that we're doing things right.
Well, I'll hand out these. These are the statute 143-318.17. This is the statute of holding order in a meeting, and the authority of the chair or the presiding member of a meeting. It's not just for the county commissioner. It's for other authorized meetings in the state. And I'll read that as you have asked me to do. North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.17. Disruptions of official meetings. A person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts an official meeting, and who, upon being directed to leave the meeting by the presiding officer, willfully refuses to leave the meeting, is guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. The And as the chair of the authority, my legal opinion is that in North Carolina, y'all are required as a board of commissioners to have this meeting. You can meet when you deem necessary, but you have to meet at least once a month, I believe. However, this is an official meeting. This statute pertains to that. It would be within your authority. Actually, you'd be required, you're the authority to keep order in a meeting. And in that, it's given you the authority to ask people to leave if they are disruptive. This is, after you've asked them to leave, this gives the authority for an officer of law to arrest, or they will be classified, they'll be arrested and be guilty, as it reads here, is guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. Is that what you asked me to do?
Yeah, I just needed some clarification because I'd never needed to know, and hopefully I won't need to know, but I just wanted to make sure that I understood my role, and so that's why I asked Attorney Forbes to look into it. If a speaker, and one of the other questions that I got a lot of feedback from over this week and last week, if a speaker refuses to comply with the 3-minute policy, what am I expected to do at that time?
3-minute rule, in my legal opinion, is set forth by the statute and is required by law. This section is put there for informational purposes. Any abuse of that by a citizen could be, and probably would be, a disruption of the meeting. It would be within your authority to ask them to leave the podium or even have them ejected from the meeting. If that's the word you want to use, ejected. Ask them to leave the meeting. I apologize. Let me say that. That's what the statute says, ask them to leave.
Okay, and at that time, I would ask the sheriff or one of his deputies, I would like to use the word escort the citizen away from the podium. And so I'm just reading that to y'all because I know you all heard a lot of concern, not a particular side, but the last meeting went a little too far. I don't think anybody can deny that. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood my role, and of course I wanted to make sure that everyone understood. So at this time, if we could get the approval of the agenda by the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for recognizing me. I'd like to suggest or recommend a change to the agenda. Item number 4, the North Carolina DOT 74 bypass presentation. I'd like to request that we move that up to item number 3, and number 4 becomes the public addresses to the board.
Okay. Commissioner Gatewood has made the suggestion in the form of a motion. Would anyone like to second that?
Okay.
Second it by Commissioner Mims. All those in favor of moving the item number 4 to I guess you would want that to become item number 3. And okay.
Thank you.
And then we would have item number 3 become item number 4. So is that everyone on the board okay with that? Or we got a motion and a second? Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, in favor, Commissioner Mims, Commissioner Woodburn, Commissioner Cottle, Commissioner Bricken, Commissioner Gatewood, Commissioner Smith, how do you vote?
As is.
Okay, so Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Little Reed vote no. The motion passes 5-2. Okay, so at this time, we'll go over the consent agenda. Does anyone make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioners Gatewood and Cottle. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion to pass the consent agenda is unanimous. Okay, so now we're going to go to the appearances by Mr. Epperson and Mr. Ainsworth from the NCDOT 74 bypass median projects. And we appreciate y'all coming today.
Is the presentation going to be shown?
Yeah, he's getting ready right now.
thank y'all for, let me hit the green button. Does it work?
Yeah, it should be working.
Okay, thank y'all for, having us tonight. Still waiting for it to come up.
And we can see on our, so we're not, it's not that we're not paying attention, we're looking right at it, so.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just hoping I can see it, cause yeah, cause I put together the presentation, but I don't necessarily have that memorized. Okay, again, I'd like to thank y'all for, having us tonight. My name is Sean Epperson. I'm the Deputy Division Engineer for the NCDOT in Division 10. And I wanted to come tonight and give y'all an update on some projects that are going on 74 through Anson County. So the three projects we're going to talk about are R5798, which is the US 74 Access Management Project between Graham Street and Allen Pond Road. And by access management, I mean a median project, so it's going to install a median on that section of US 74. We got R5871, again another access management project on US 74. Is that better? Okay. Between Anson High School Road and Graham Street. And then we got R5878, which is the Wadesboro bypass. So we'll talk about those projects, we'll talk about some traffic conditions related to those projects, and the next steps. Again, the first project's R5798. And that's that. So that scope of that project is to install that median on US 74 between Graham Street and Allen Pond Road. This project, we held public meetings back in 2018. However, the project was paused along with a lot of other projects for NCDOT in 2019, but we have restarted that project. Right-of-way acquisition is currently scheduled for fiscal year 26, with construction in fiscal year 29. So next steps for that project, we've kicked that project back off. We're getting back into design. We'll get the design done. We'll get our environmental document completed. We'll start purchasing the right-of-way. Once right-of-way is purchased, we'll move the utilities. And then once utilities are moved, we'll go to construction. Okay, R5871. Again, this is an access management project. It's going to install a median on US 74 between Anson High School Road and Graham Street. In 2018, a feasibility study was done identifying what the scope of that project would be and how much it would cost. Again, it was paused in 2019 though due to our budget issues. This project is currently unfunded, so we don't know when it's going to go to right-of-way or when it'll go to construction. It is being resubmitted in the prioritization process for project selection 7.0 by the RPO. So if it becomes funded, then we might have some dates available. Again, next steps for that project, again, like I said, it's going to go back through that prioritization process. If selected for funding, we'll start design work, environmental document, conduct public involvement, then buy right-of-way, utilities, and go to construction. But again, this project is currently unfunded. Okay, and then R5878, which is the Wadesboro bypass. So the scope of this project is a 4-lane roadway on new location. Be a fully controlled of access facility, which means there'll be no driveway connections. It'll have some interchanges at various, the major Y lines, US 52, 109, most likely. I say that because we haven't gone through that complete environmental process, document process, meeting with the Corps of Engineers, all the environmental agencies. The feasibility study for that project and the map you see on the screen shows that bypass going north of Wadesboro. However, the reality is we don't know if it'll go north or south. When we're doing our environmental document, we're working through the environmental agencies, with the environmental agencies to determine that alignment. We're going to look at locations north of Wadesboro, south of Wadesboro, and actually we will be required to look at an option to go straight through Wadesboro. It's not an option we would pick. If we were to put basically a freeway through Wadesboro, it would destroy the town. But we will be required, working with the federal agencies, to look at that option to show them what those impacts would be, and they would be significant. So we're just beginning that process. We got a contractor or a firm on board to do that work. The A section, which is the westernmost section, is unfunded, and then the B section, which is the eastern section, is funded. Right away in fiscal year 28, construction in fiscal year 30. So next steps on that project, again, we'll begin to design, do our environmental document, conduct some public involvement. I think that public involvement should be starting up this winter. Go through that process, we'll select that preferred alternative, then complete that environmental document, purchase the right-of-way, move the utilities, and then go to construction. Again, but that's for the eastern section only. The western section will go through that prioritization process and potentially get selected for funding. So some traffic conditions related to these projects. So as part of that Wadesboro bypass project, we did a forecast to kind of determine what those future volumes would be. In 2045, if we don't build the bypass, we're looking at, you can see on the right side, 21,000, 36,000, or 26,000 cars a day on US 74, depending on what section you're at. If the entire bypass is built, the western section and the eastern section, those volumes on US 74, the existing US 74 through Wadesboro, go down to 8,000, 22,000, and 13,500. So it's a pretty big diversion, puts a lot of traffic on that bypass. And I get note on the side of the screen, we're right now there's between 15 and 18% trucks going through it on 74. A large percentage of those would be using the bypass, but not all. And I say not all because if you're coming up or down US 52, you're not going to probably take the bypass if your overall destination is 52. So if you're coming up 52 north, you're going to probably still go through town and then continue up 52 north, and vice versa if you're going south, just because of where the bypass is going to connect back to 74 on the east and west. Which again is why you see that that larger 22,000 cars a day on US 74 that still exists in the center of Wadesboro. Again, that's between those two sections of 52. So we looked at some crash data. There were 82 crashes over the last 5 years. If we construct these medium projects, that amount is expected to go down by at least 30%. If we construct the medium projects and the bypass is built, again, because you have less volumes out there, we're anticipated to reduce crashes by more than 60% on that section of 74. Okay, just kind of recapping some of the next steps. R5798, that's the Eastern Access Management Project. Complete the design, environmental document, and eventually go to construction. R5871 is that Western Access Management Project. It's going to have to recompete for funding, and then go through the process. And then R5878, again, the Wadesboro bypass. Get into that project development process and work through all that. And then in the eastern section, at least, we know definitively it's committed, it's funded. We go to right-of-way, utility relocation, and then construction. I want to point out each project's moving forward independently of the others. No one project's dependent on the other one to occur. And then, opportunities for public comment will be announced. Like I said, the Wadesboro bypass should be having that public involvement starting up this winter. And then the R5798, we had the public meetings back in 2018, but as we kick that project back off, we'll go back out and have some additional public involvement, just because it's been so long since we've been out talking to everybody. Okay, contact information, but if y'all have any questions.
One thing that would be good to clarify for the audience, I think a lot of us thought we were talking about 27 for starting date, and I know from coming to the meeting yesterday and today, it looks like 2030 is the actual start of construction, which I'm not challenging that in any way other than clarity. Is that basically what you're saying? It's more like 2030 going to start?
Yeah, it's programmed, the funding for it's programmed in 2030.
Okay.
So even if we could get through the entire process quicker, which I think is possible, I said when an environmental document for a project like the Wadesboro bypass is very complex, very cumbersome. But even if we could get done, 6 months to a year earlier, unless something changes in the funding standpoint, we wouldn't have the money to go to construction until fiscal year 2030. I do think at one point in time it was earlier than that. I have to go back and look through different steps, because especially over the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of our projects have shifted schedules and everything. So.
And then if the east part is funded first and completed first, does the bypass have to be west and east completion before it's usable? Would we have half of a bypass waiting for the other half to be funded?
Yeah, if only the eastern section, if we don't get the western section funded and the eastern section gets built, we would open it up. So we would run from on 52 on the north side to the east back over to 74.
Okay.
Yeah, we would open it up. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's reasonable to think that if you fund the first section A, that before construction is complete, the state would fund section B. Half a bypass does no good.
Yeah, and it will help it from a scoring standpoint, being a sister project to the other one. I can't guarantee it'll be picked, obviously, but it will get some additional points because it is that other part of that bypass. And it would be the ideal scenario, honestly, from our standpoint, if in the 7.0 process it did get picked, because we're doing the environmental document for the entire project. So if it got picked in 7.0, we would end up going to construction on both segments at the same time, or very close to the same time.
And on the bypass itself, where 109 goes north and south, of course 52 north and south, and maybe 742, will the people that use those exits need to stay on the old road if they're going to be going north or south? Or is the bypass only going to go past Wadesboro for those going east and west, or would they be able to turn off, or is it too early to tell to go to either Albemarle or Churraw type Chesterfield?
Definitively, we don't know where the bypass or where the interchanges would be, but conceptually, if the bypass ends up on the north side of Wadesboro, there would be an interchange at 109, 52, and 742.
Okay, good.
On the south side, we've looked at it enough to know we would not be able to get all three of them, because I think 109, 52, there's two of the roads that are real close to each other, and so we wouldn't be able to get an interchange at both.
And then, because it's such a small bypass, is it possible there would be no Wadesboro exit, that if you wanted to go to Wadesboro, you would just drive straight through to Wadesboro? Or would there be an exit from the bypass to Wadesboro?
So, I don't know how we would sign it. I know if you're on 74 approaching the bypass, I would say more likely we would tell people if your destination is Wadesboro just to keep going straight
Okay.
on the bypass. But Wadesboro being the closest town to where those interchanges, we would probably have signs for Wadesboro there too. It's a good question. I don't know.
But that could be helpful to Wadesboro, because then if Wadesboro is still going to keep all the food stores and everything intact, rather than have an exit from the bypass to where then people might not stop to eat there as much as they would if they could drive straight through, we won't have to relocate anything, which sounds like it would be better.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other commissioners? Manager? Yes, sir.
Will the bypass be free access, or will it be a toll road?
Free access.
Free access. And number two, construction. How long will it take to construct it? How many years, approximately?
I would say you're probably looking at around 3 years.
3 years. All right, thank
New
you.
alignment roadway, not a whole lot of, not through the middle of a downtown area at least. I mean, there's obviously we're going to hit parcels and people's land and stuff, but yeah, I'd say probably around 3 years.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Woodburn?
I don't know if you can answer this at this time or not, but when the public input session for the medium project is done, will that be something for people to look at when it's being discussed, or will the design have taken place by then?
No, we'll put it back out. We've already modified the design from the last public meeting based on a lot of the comments we've gotten.
Okay.
And so yeah, we would be re-showing that to everybody to make sure everybody sees the new design. I mean, a lot of it's the same, but there's parts of it that are pretty different.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, just in my usual routine to read we're getting ready to go into this, the citizen comments, and each citizen shall be allowed 3 minutes. The board, it says each citizen shall allow 3 minutes for their presentation. All citizens are expected to follow proper decorum and shall not use profanity nor defamatory speech. Commissioners are expected not to comment on matters brought to the board during this time, but to delay action or comment until staff has had an opportunity to research the subject matter and to report necessary and relevant information to all members of the board. So at this time, if Ms. Lyles will please come up.
First, giving honor to God. Again, thank all of you for the opportunity to address you again today. Again, as I stated last meeting, there are no personal anger or ought toward any of you. I feel that it's our job to advocate and stand in the gap for the citizens of Anson County, whether black or white, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, gay or straight, saved or faithless, political or unaffiliated, regardless of their socio-economic status, regardless if they are renters or homeowners, criminals or law-abiding citizens, capable or disabled, old or young. The point of the statement is, regardless of one's circumstance, we all are somebody. We all matter, our presence matters, our opinions matter, our voice matters. Yet, a lot of our citizens do not feel like this board is reflective of the people and our concerns. This platform doesn't allow feedback from any of you. We are only allowed 3 minutes to present. Although we are grateful for the opportunity, we also realize that nothing is getting accomplished. So today, we the people would like to personally and publicly invite you to our next We the People community involvement meeting. We are knowledgeable of the fact that only 3 commissioners can be in attendance. So we would like to personally invite Commissioner Bricken, Commissioner Mims, Commissioner Cottle, and Commissioner Gatewood. We the people have publicly invited you to our involvement meeting next Tuesday in Morven at the Lemuel Center at 5:30. We have noticed your presence in other meetings and gatherings, so I'm sure that there isn't an issue with 3 out of the 4 of you being in attendance to our next meeting. Respectfully to Commissioner Little Reed, Commissioner Smith, and Commissioner Woodburn, you all have made yourselves available, whether invited or individually, to hear our concerns and questions of the people, both previously and currently, so your presence and attendance is not requested next week. Lastly, thank you again for the opportunity to present. We all are somebody. We all matter. Our presence matters. We all have the right to the freedom of speech. We all have a voice, and we will use it until our Father, which art in heaven, calls our expiration day. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Miss Lyles.
Is it all right if he give you these invitations?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, Pastor McNair.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Evening.
Good evening.
I stand for 2 reasons. One was I think I'm more reactionary when it comes to the bypass, because you all have already done some things, but I wanted to speak just a little bit on that, and also to speak regarding the meeting that was held in September, and the one that is scheduled for October 18th, for the 3 of the county commissioners to come to a meeting to talk about the issues, the strategic planning that should be taking place in Anson County, the long-range goals and the short-range goals. Just like the Chinese plan for 100 years, at least we can plan for 20 or 10 years out. So let me begin with that bypass. I just came from Hickory last Saturday, and I just noticed on that Matthew to Marshville bypass, there are at least 7 exits. And I didn't know where our bypass would start and where it would end, but surely we could have at least 2. And that was my concern. If we're saying that the Peachland-Polkton area is one of the fastest growing areas in Anson County, and where businesses probably will begin to crop up, I was hoping that we would see an exit from that bypass. I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't know where it starts and I don't know where it's going to end. But in my mind, I'm thinking, surely, if they can have a bypass from Monroe to Concord, we could have a bypass from Waysboro to Albemarle, Waysboro to Cheraw. And then the one pertaining to Peachland-Polkton. I only have 1 minute and 21 seconds left. That's what I want to say to Mr. Mims and to Mr. Brickens. Thank you very much for attending the meeting we had back in September. We had a lot of people to show up. You weren't expecting it. I really was not expecting that many people to come, but they did attend the meeting that we held at Oliver's and had to move it here. And the citizens that are interested in knowing what the issues are, because we need to get in front of the issues. We should not be in a reactionary mode with everything that's going on in Anson County. So I want to thank Mr. Mims, Mr. Brickens, and Mr. Woodburn. It's my understanding that you all have agreed to be at the meeting on October the 18th, 1 p.m. at the South Piedmont Community College Lockhart Taylor Center upstairs in one of the classrooms. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor. And now for Pastor McLeod.
Again, thank you. I started this journey. I came in and I had prayer and scripture. I believe my scripture were from Matthew 12:25. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself would not stand. And then I was going to leave this place after I'd done that, and Juneteenth hit the floor, and then my eyes perked up. I said, now this is an opportunity for us to show all of us that we own. And it didn't go easy. In fact, I didn't think it was going to pass that the county would have Juneteenth. And Mr. Mims, you stood up and you did it, and I felt good about that. But I had some bad feelings. I said, give us an olive branch. Let us know that we are important. We need to feel that way. But again, that was my feeling. And I continued to come. And I've been 1 for 4 with things that I was concerned about. Didn't know how this worked. I heard someone from the audience say that we elect you all make the decisions. I always thought this was for the people, by the people. Talked to my representative about how something I felt, and he said that he would do diligence. And then I asked about something else and would vote my convictions. I think we have a voice in this, and I'm concerned. Final thing that I would say, said something about respect, understanding, and decorum, and someone said that it was a frenzy. I left before the frenzy, and I get tired of us getting boxed in that corner. On January the 6th, when I looked at that, I said, if that was my people in there, none of that would have happened. And y'all know what happened. Then I heard all of what we got on the table for noise now, and I just shook my head. I'm always shaking my head. Final thing is, we passed something that the United States don't have. We passed something that Congress don't have. We're gonna give it to Brody, and Brody would never let a countywide election affect his area. You know, people say about Pelosi and these other people, they affect our vote, but we can't vote for them. So why would we take something here that's not even American? I heard someone say, this is America. I believe it was the district attorney. It really is not America. We need to check ourselves. I'm in it. It is all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor McLeod. All right. So now we've changed the order, but we're changing back. We're getting back on the regular schedule. In administrative matters, on 6A, Commissioner Woodburn had asked to be recused from that. So we're going to go ahead and if we could get the introduction from, I believe that's going to come from the manager about the jail inmate account, but the one that is that, are you going to brief us, or are you going to brief us? Okay, Commissioner Mims, if you could brief us on that.
What it is for the jail account, it's the inmate account. We want to move from PNC in Rockingham to Urari Bank here in Wadesboro, and they're going to match all the amenities that PNC offered when they first opened up the account.
I'm sorry.
It's moving the inmate bank account from PNC in Rockingham to Urari Bank in Wadesboro. They're going to amend to all the amenities that they got when the account was originally opened up at PNC here in Wadesboro. That they're going to amend the same thing over here in Wadesboro.
Okay, so tonight, I guess, is it your wish that we would make a motion to accept
Yes,
that?
sir.
Okay, so at this time, Commissioner Mims is making a motion to move the jail inmate account from transfer from PNC to URA. Does anyone like to second that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Gatewood. Is there any discussion? Would you want to clarify a little bit about why you're doing that?
Because they're having to drive over to Rockingham to make deposits when we can do it here locally.
That was important to point out. So, and we'd like to stimulate the local economy, I believe. So, at this point, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries with 6, Commissioner Mims, Commissioner Cottle, Commissioner Bricken, Commissioner Little Reed, Commissioner Smith, and Commissioner Gatewood. The motion passes. Okay, so now we're going to go into discussion about the COLA, and I'm assuming that would be Commissioner Little Reed.
Mr. Chair, I've asked the finance officer to attend this meeting to give the county employees an update on the COLA and the audit. Per Ms. Perry, the finance officer, she had prior plans and was unable to attend. Therefore, Mr. Sossaman, can you give the employees an update?
Yes, ma'am. The COLA situation, our finance department's working steadily. They've got bank reconciliations for FY22 completed. They're part of the way through FY23. Right now, the outstanding, there was a list given to us by our independent auditors, Thompson Price, 160 some odd items, and a good portion of those have been completed and submitted to the auditors, and the rest of them that are needed, because she's about 2/3 of the way through. But what are left are property tax receivables, water and sewer receivables, actuarial studies for law enforcement separation allowances, and other post-employment benefits known as OPEB. Of course, we've got the new GASB rules, which are the accounting rules that they have to factor in. And of course, the problem we have nowadays is there's very few audit firms, independent CPA firms, that actually do county and city annual audits. We're lucky to have these folks. So what they're anticipating, what they're telling us now, is they anticipate completing an actual compliance testing for November, not October. And then therefore they should be able to complete the FY22 audit sometime either late November or early December, and then immediately start on the FY23 that we just finished.
So could you give us a date, or I mean not exact date, but do we need to table it again to come back to this matter about the COLA?
Well, I would say once the audit's done, the FY22 is done, that'll give you a better idea of what we started off this past fiscal year with. Then you might want to reconsider it. So I would say either sometime in November or December to bring it back.
So would December be better to give them more time?
That would give them more time, yes, ma'am.
So I would like to make a motion to table the COLA until December, until we get the audit completed.
Would that be to table the vote on it or to table discussion until then? I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
I want to vote in order for us to table it, saying we're going to table it until December. Can we not do that?
Attorney Forbes?
Just ask for them to table it?
Ask Attorney Forbes, is that, can you clarify for?
You don't have to take an action. You could add it to the agenda again. Or you could say that you want to have it tabled until the December meeting, but at that time you would probably have to vote on it, and if it's not ready, or if you're not prepared to do it by then, you may want to be able to move it again. You can always or you can always just add it to the agenda again if you wanted to in the future.
And then at that time, if it's been complete, then you could make the request. Is that right, Attorney Forbes? So if in December, if we were to wait till December to bring, and she could do, Commissioner Little Reed could do the same thing, again, bring it up, what is our status? If you have the status prepared, then at that time, if Commissioner Little Reed wanted to vote, would that be the appropriate thing to do?
Not the inappropriate, if it would be, if she were to make a motion to have the matter considered again in December, or tabled until December, then it would leave it open to where if the information were not complete, you could still move it forward then to another date if you had to.
That's what I just did. I was trying to table it, and he was trying to get you to decide what we need to do.
I was asked to table it to consider it instead of to vote on it. Maybe I misunderstood you. Were you wanting to vote on it in December, or you just want to consider it again?
No, I just said table it until we get the information. That's what I said. I didn't, all that other stuff I didn't say. Okay.
That should be sufficient.
Okay. So, I'm not, I think she's asking, do we need to make a motion to table it? Or can we just table it?
Which one?
You don't have to take any action on it, but you could make a motion to table it until December, for consideration in December.
Is that,
I can either do that, or I can just leave it on a, agenda for December. I'd rather do that than vote.
okay, so everybody's clear on, good with that? Okay, thank you, Attorney Forbes and Commissioner Little Reed. Okay, now we will move on to the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The first item I have is a report to you on the where we stand with the water filtration plant grant update. It's now in the position we have been approved, and there's a resolution that you need to adopt for that $5 million we'll receive from the Department of Environmental Quality to begin retooling the water filtration plant. You've adopted a similar one in the past. This will be the final one, because right now what has to happen once you adopt this, I send it into DEQ. Hazen and Sawyer, our consulting engineers, will finalize between now and January 2nd the actual plans and specifications that we will submit to DEQ for their approval. And then once they approve it, then we can start drawing down the funds and start construction.
So at this time, you would ask that we would make a motion to approve the water filtration plant grant as it's updated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, does anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Cottle. All those in favor say, or is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. And the motion carries. Okay, thank you. And now for the lead service line investigation grant.
Yes, sir. If you'll remember, this is something that's being required because of EPA standards, because there's been lead solder and lead lines used in the past all across America. And so we did apply for and have been tentatively approved for a $1 million lead service line replacement. And what that $1 million will afford us the opportunity to do is to actually explore, discover where our lead lines are, and so that we can then start the replacement process.
Okay, and
$1 million. You don't have to approve anything. I just wanted to report to you that coming to you in the near future will be some action that you would have to approve, probably another resolution that we will send into DEQ.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure the board back in census will always be happy to take or have more money. So
unless you decide now to tell me to stop the process, and then
no,
then we have to come up with however much it's going to cost out of the county coffers, if you will.
Okay, no, we appreciate that you're working on that, and all the Hazen and Sawyer with our engineer firm that's helping with our condition assessment. You all been doing a great job. I sure appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. I do have one minor item. Well, it's not really a minor item. If I can add something to it quickly. As you know, we do an end of quarter employee process where the people are recognized from their peers, and so the three that have been recommended so far that I can report are Jennifer Hyatt from Finance, Misty Puckett from Health, and then last but not least, Stephanie Taylor from DSS.
All right.
And so, as you know, the practice has been to have a lunch and or a breakfast, and that's going to be planned for sometime later in October.
All right, that sounds good. All right, does that complete the manager's report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then for my chairman report, I've asked Attorney Forbes to put together the occupancy policy that several citizens have asked for, and tonight we're just going to hand out a draft so all the commissioners can look at it. And yes, sir. And then they've got 2 weeks to review it, and if there's any changes that they'd like to make, then we'd have a chance to make a motion to approve the policy that several citizens have asked over the last several months. Okay. On the chairman's report too, I'd like to mention that in addition to the $5 million that Manager Salzman was referring to, we have received an additional $6 million that's in this new budget that's going to help us with our water department. And we all know that it's outdated. We're doing the best we can with what we got, and we have a lot of repairs that need to be made, and that's what appreciate Mr. Salzman again working with the water department and our engineers to try to help our system be updated and upgraded. Secondly, I'd like to point out in the state budget as well, some more good news is there's an additional $50,000 for each of our fire departments and for our rescue squad, $50,000. So that's going to be real helpful for them with equipment and the things that they're short of, and so we're real happy about that. And we can thank Mr. Brody. He's the one that we worked through to get that, and he's the one that took it to Raleigh and brought it back. So I just wanted to point that out. And at this time, we'll go into the commissioner concerns. Have we any tonight? Commissioner Little Reed?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to say, you provided us with this draft for this commissioner, that policy attendance. I appreciate you doing that, but I would appreciate that from anything that you can provide for us in a draft before and we vote on at a later date. I would appreciate it. We talked about it, and I appreciate you doing that. If we would just continue to do the other stuff that's, you know, just like that, so we won't just be coming here rushing through different things.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I got a question. I just noticed that bulb up there, Mr. Louder. The one in the ceiling right here. What's the purpose of that right there?
May I?
Sure.
There have been some concerns that with potential security. That is just a recording device in this room that records the activity in this room. It is not feed live. It records, and I believe every 30 days, if it's not saved, it overwrites itself, just like in a courthouse or in something else. It is not to be broadcast, but it is for a security device, and I suggested it, and it was approved and came up.
All right. Any other commissioner concerns?
Go ahead, you fine.
I have one. Mr. Saltzman, I would just like to get an update on our 911 center, the issue regarding Windstream and the EasyNet issue.
We're actually working with Windstream, and they have supposedly saying they're going to allocate funds, but also not quite behind the scenes, but our IT director, Jeff Louder, and I have talked to several folks at Spectral, and they've asked us what they could do, and they've made they're going to be making some more proposals to us, maybe for 911, as well as from some of our remote locations where we really don't have good connectivity.
Do we have a timeline of when that will be completed for either company?
Their indication was it would be before the end of the year, so we're hoping sooner than later, obviously. One other quick thing I could add, not to belabor things, but talking about grants, I did receive notice from DOT, Aviation Division, that we need to put out on the street an RFQ, request for qualifications, for our master contract at the airport in order to continue to receive grants as well as to spend the grant money we have now. So I've started working on that. Ms. Cannon and I discussed it today relative to where we are in the process.
All right, thank you, Manager Saltzman. Commissioner Woodburn?
I tell you, I'll wait till our next meeting because I need to get with Manager Saltzman.
Okay.
I'm looking for
Okay, all right.
I'm going to ask two more follow-ups. Jeff Young with our zoning plan, where is that?
He has actually submitted his final sections to Larry Newton to review. As soon as Larry finishes his review, what I'd like to do is to provide that to our attorney to look over it for any legal matters he might see before bringing us to this board for discussion. But as has been noted, we'll get it to you in plenty of time since it's voluminous, and you do not want to get it at one meeting and probably the next. So it's going to probably take you a few weeks to review it, and which I think is good. And then any kind of questions you have of our attorney, or Larry, or me, or else Mr. Young, and of course we can have Mr. Young come to a meeting. I think he's done a pretty good job so far.
If I may clarify, they gave it to me yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
It is voluminous. I've not gone through that, and we've stayed on top of it. But I believe the final project for review has been submitted. So I'm reviewing that as well. So.
Okay, sounds good. The other one was, is there any update on the public hearing for the McGill site? I know there was some conversations between
I have been in contact with DEQ, And originally, we thought they were going to have a meeting at the courthouse, if not here, sometime this month. But they're having a problem, I say from their perspective, logistically, in terms of getting all their things together to do it. And it will be a public meeting. They will advertise it probably a couple weeks in advance. And they'll be the ones who conduct it. But obviously, all the commissioners as well as the public will have the opportunity to attend as they so desire.
Now, is that going to be a separate meeting with DEQ for McGill, or is that the DEQ meeting based on the landfill?
Oh, the expansion.
Okay, so the I think Commissioner Cottle was asking.
So I don't think they've got that one scheduled yet.
Okay, that was a question.
Yeah.
I thought McGill was supposed to schedule one, but I haven't heard anything about it. I know the landfill is supposed to be.
Yeah, the landfill expansion is the one I know that's going to be scheduled, and it looks like now it's either going to be late October, early November for that. We can go back and check with Mr. Watkins and see if they have given consideration, because we've asked them those questions. They move in slow, mysterious ways, but they do move.
And the expansion meeting for the landfill will be public. It'll be published, and everybody will have opportunity to know and come. Yes. So that'll definitely. And we're asking to have that at the courthouse in case an overflow crowd would want to come. So.
Right. And the clerk of court, Mr. Hammonds, did provide me with a couple dates and times that worked out, but I don't think they have worked out for the DEQ folks in Raleigh. So we'll probably have to go back to the clerk and find out other optional dates that work.
Okay. One thing in the chairman portion, and I've had a suggestion that I need to try to do a little better at bringing up some of the good things that are happening, and I didn't know if you might be able to brief us on the countywide networking grant money, and that's enormous, and I don't know that everyone's familiar with.
Talking about the broadband?
The broadband, yes, sir.
And we have met with Spectrum on that a few times, and they're still moving forward with it. And of course, they have money from the state. They're putting in multiple millions of dollars themselves, as well as $250,000 from the county. So that's still moving forward. But again, I don't have a date yet for when they're going to be rolling that out.
And I think the 250 from us, but it's somewhere over 10 million from the grant, right?
All total, yes, it would be we're north of $12 million.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty important, because I know a lot of y'all, just like me and where we live, our service is pretty bad. So anyway, that's good news. I'm trying to do a better job of bringing out some good news.
All right.
So, all right, at this time, yes, sir, Commissioner Gatewood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sussman, 2 to 3 months ago, the HR manager presented a draft of the travel reimbursement policy, and she left with the assignment to review with department heads her draft and then come back to the board with her recommendation. Could you please update us on the status of that project, please?
The HR director has submitted that to the department heads for their review, and some of them have got that back, and not necessarily all of them, but I'll check with her tomorrow and see when we can bring that forward for the board to consider.
Thank you.
We did give her, there was an alternate one besides the one she did. I won't call any names, but it seems that there was maybe a few more department heads that like the verbiage on it versus the other one.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Chairman, I do have some recognitions.
Yes, sir.
Last Friday, there was an AXE retirement celebration for 3 employees retiring: Danny Starnes, Jim Tucker, and Shirley Tillman. Tremendous employees over a long period of time, and I was honored to attend that reception. I got there around 1:45, and Commissioner Mims was there, and Mr. Ross Streeter was there, and several others, and they had to spread hamburgers, cheeseburgers, a lot of food. And I didn't eat. And the reason I didn't eat was because I just got out of the dentist's chair about an hour ago, and I was still under medication. But it was a really nice event, and Ms. Tanya Bird, our director, did an excellent job of organizing it. Thank you.
Yes, sir, and we certainly appreciate all their years of service. Tonight, because we've got the closed session on the agenda, do we have any closed session criteria that we would meet tonight? No? Okay, so at this...
That issue got resolved on some stuff.
Okay, great. So at this time, does anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Woodburn, Commissioners Mims, and second by Commissioner, Vice Commissioner Cottle, Little Reed, Smith, and Gatewood, and me.